Welcome to the productivity report for January 2024. I am super excited to share my takeaways with you. This month, I realized that personal development is the key to elevating your craft, bar none. And if you keep watching, I'll tell you exactly why. So first of all, welcome if you're new here. My name is Caroline, and I'm an organizing and productivity coach. And for many, many years, I watched, my content creating colleagues put out income statements and income reports, basically, that showcased how much they made, what they spent things on. And it was just so fun to read all of those reports, just to kind of get a glimpse into the backside of their business. I learned so much from that. And I wanted to do something similar, but because I'm an organizing and productivity coach, I feel like that's what I should be talking about. So yes, it's fun to look at numbers and all of that, and that's of course a huge part of running a business. But I felt that my lane was to talk more about how you meet your goals, how you plan out things, how I do things, and why that works for me and what I teach. And in that way, I can share my takeaways with you. I can share what I learned with you, and we can all learn a little something from this. So thanks for watching. If you're here, I'm excited for you to hear about this new year. So obviously right now it's February, and I'm recording this for last month, which was January 2024. And it's so nice for me to pause and look back at the month that has gone by. It's a huge part of what I teach, that type of reflection, because it really anchors your decision making and it lets you learn the takeaways from it, right? Which then helps you have a better month going forward. And January is always one of my favorite months. It really is. It is what we call Go Month in the productivity industry, which is get organized, so go. So it's always full of that sort of fresh excitement and that new energy for the new year coming up, with tons of possibilities. And you close the door on one year and look back to see everything that you accomplished in the year overall, and then you have this new energy coming in, with everything that could be possible for the new year. And I love that moment. That is the favorite part of the year for me. Plus, who doesn't love the holidays, right? But yeah, I think 2024 overall is going to be an amazing year. I have sort of a visioning exercise that I do, and I put about, I want to say 25 things on that list for this year, things I would just like to see happen. And we're not even done with quarter one, and 10 things on that list has already come through. So I am super excited for the rest of the year, and I can't wait to share everything that goes on with you. The first part of January was dedicated to reflection and quarterly planning for me, myself, and of course for my clients. So on January 5th, I hosted our Q1 quarterly planning workshop, and we had a full house, and everybody got great results, which was so lovely to see. We got some really great reviews. People seem to really enjoy it. And of course, you'll find the link below the video if you're interested in exploring that for yourself. The first session is always free. So we invite you to come plan with us and experience my framework for how to do that. It's always really nice to hear everybody's takeaways. And for me, what came up was more personal development. I'm currently writing more blog posts about that, but that is always something I invest heavily in. And I'm always excited and grateful to do that, to be able to do that, because it just propels me forward every single month. And for my clients, I think it was nice for them to feel like they had a solid plan, to understand what it was that they needed to work on in Q1. Sometimes we don't really see it ourselves, we think we know what we need to work on, but then turns out it's actually something completely different that's going to move the needle. And in our quarterly planning workshops, we really get down to the bottom of what that is, so that we get results for people. And yeah, that was just so fun to see that so many of them enjoyed it. And Q2 is coming up soon. So again, I'll leave the link below if you're interested in participating. It's so much fun to do that as a group. I just love it. And the second part of January, I focused on spending with my family. So I went to Sweden again and spent some time there with my family. And on the way home to Chicago, which I'm finally home for once in my home office. It's not always that I'm home, but this whole month I've been home, which has been really, really nice after so much time on the road. But yeah, I stopped over in London on my way here, and I participated in a workshop on meditation and breath work by Maud Hurst and Jamie Clements. So shout out to Maud and Jamie for a wonderful, wonderful workshop. That was such a beautiful investment of time, and I had some really good breakthroughs. I feel like some really, really good takeaways, and it was well worth my time. And I also got to see some friends while I was in London, which was really nice. You know, being a remote worker, being behind a screen so much, I often meet people online before I meet them in real life. And so whenever I go somewhere now, I try to think of, well, who is in that place that I could possibly connect with and get to know better. So I had that opportunity a couple times during this past month, and it was just lovely to meet people. So yeah, that works for me. It's been a wonderful month for sure. And yeah, I can't wait to go to another retreat like that soon. I can't wait to do more work on that. I'm working a lot on breath work this year, and being able to express myself better. And so far, we're off to a great start. And that kind of brings me to my point, my takeaway for this month. For every month, I like to do a takeaway of what I learned and what the universe gave me as a message. And it was that deep personal development really enables you to become a better coach. It really enables you to perfect your craft and really enhance what you are doing with new skills. There's a really great quote that I love, which is, business problems are nothing more than personal problems in disguise. I don't know who said it, I can't remember, but it's just such a good line to remember because it really sums up my January. The more you work on yourself, the more you elevate your coaching and your leadership skills and become a better person overall and a more open person, that really impacts the quality of your services and your offers and how you're able to run your business. So yeah, the more personal development you do, the more success you can receive, right? The more you can hold. And I just find that to be so true for me and many of my clients who are entrepreneurs as well. So yeah, it's anybody who has a personal brand, who are sort of the face of their business, I think will resonate with that. When you work on yourself, when you figure things out for yourself, it just changes how you run your business and what you're able to do. So I really want to sort of bring that point home and encourage you to think about how you can develop yourself and up-level your leadership skills in order to develop your business as well. Because whether it's, releasing old fears or up-leveling your mindset or just becoming a better communicator, whatever it might be that you need to work on, that is really what's going to change things for you. Those skills are so universal and so impactful in throughout your life, in the entirety of your life, that you can't help but do better in all areas of your life. During the last few years, I have worked relentlessly on myself to become the person I know I'm supposed to be. It hasn't been easy, it's been challenging for sure, but I do not regret one day of it. It has been so worth it. And the more I do, the more I'm able to do. It's just amazing how that works. And because of it, I'm also so much better at my job than I was a few years ago. I've changed dramatically in the last few years, and it's because I've actually put in the work to do that. It is hard to look at yourself honestly and admit that you need help with stuff, but that is just what you need to do sometimes. And the more you can do that without self-judgment, and the more you can take action and follow through on those things and actually work towards solutions, it's the better things will go for you. Not saying I'm there in all aspects, right? I'm not saying I'm perfect or anything like that. I'm just saying that it's so worth the effort to try and improve to become the best version of yourself. I don't regret trying for a minute. The way to best help others, I think, is to help yourself. It's to inspire others by taking action and becoming somebody who's inspirational and who they look up to. And so, if you ever wanted somebody else to change, you can't do that by nagging. You can't make somebody else do something they don't want to do. I have extensive conversations sometimes with my clients about that, because I need to know that when they are working with me, they're actually ready to do the work. Because you can't make somebody do something that they don't want to do. No matter how good of a coach you are, if they don't actually do the work, they're not going to see the change, right? So I need to really know that people are ready to work with me. So I've had extensive talks with clients about this, and they'll say, yes, I'm super committed, and then they'll falter a little bit in, and it's understandable, but you really need to commit in order to see change, and I've experienced that for myself. Obviously, that's not a revolutionary takeaway. These lessons rarely are, but I felt like that was the message that hit home in January, that yes, you need to work on yourself, and when you work on yourself, a lot of the business stuff kind of flows right behind it. It doesn't take a whole lot for those dots to connect. And the way that you inspire change is by setting the example and not by nagging people to do things they don't want to do. So I'm going to try the best that I can to set a good example for my team, for my friends, for my colleagues, for everybody, really. And just try to be somebody that encourages rather than nags or bosses around, because I think that's just the way to go. So I'm excited to hear how you go about that in your business, if you're an entrepreneur, or what your takeaways are on that topic. I'd love to have a discussion. So comment below if you want to share your thoughts on that, because it's a fascinating conversation. But yeah, that was the big picture message that came through loud and clear this month that I wanted to share with you. And now let's jump into some of my stats to see how I did personally. It's fun to share, and it kind of can give you maybe some ideas of how to go about things for yourself. So let's first start with how productive I was in January 2024. And just like December, if you haven't watched December's video, it's there in the playlist. So go ahead and watch that. But yeah, just like December, January was a really cool month. I loved it. My work didn't feel like work, which is just amazing. In fact, I was just talking to a colleague on Zoom earlier today, and I was telling her how lucky I am to do what I love and how much I just enjoy what I do, and that even if I didn't make any money from it, I'd probably still be doing the exact same thing. So it just feels so aligned, and it doesn't feel like work at all, which I love. There was no stress, there was no worry, which again, I love. I don't like those feelings, and I've worked so hard to get rid of any stress or anything like that from my work. And just to show you that it doesn't have to feel like that. There are ways to go about your work and your craft in a way that doesn't need to feel stressful. Since I was on the road for most of this month, it was also nice to see that my systems held up, and I actually had better stats than I've ever had before. So I'm going to share those with you next. The first thing I want to mention is that I finished 5 projects in January 2024. 1 was personal and 4 were for my business. That being said, if you think about the whole line around personal development and business development being, as one, then you could kind of actually consider all of it business projects. But yeah, 5 projects were done. My goal for the whole past year has been 3 per month, and obviously that went better than I thought. I've been very consistent in exceeding my goals. However, because I want to keep a very spacious schedule, I'm going to stick to 3 projects per month for the rest of 2024 as well. I find that that's a really nice round target number that is fairly easy for me to meet, but at the same time, I can exceed and I often do as well when I want to. It's really not hard to do that. So if you're thinking, like, how do you complete that many projects, or how do you do that? It's really not that hard. You just have to lock in your project management skills. Okay, so you need to understand what's a project, what's a task, and how do we plan things out and ensure sort of maximum efficiency in the easiest way possible. So it really isn't that hard to do. You just have to get a few of the project management skills down, and then from there it's kind of smooth sailing. I work on average 25 to 30 hours per week. It's a fairly spacious schedule. I'm never busy per se, and I still get everything done just fine. So it is very, very possible to have that type of schedule, not feel stressed, and get everything done, right? So I just want you to know that. That being said, it takes a bit of work to get to that point. You have to understand how much to take on, what your capacity is, and what to ignore. So something to think about. My favorite project in January 2024 was collaborating with my colleagues, Kathy, Darla, and Jill, on a YouTube Live called Kathy's Picks, Your Path to Productivity. So Kathy, Darla, and Jill are colleagues that I've known for many years. Kathy is the founder of the Photo Managers, which is sort of our industry community. For those of us who work with memories and digital assets and all of that organization. So that was super fun. She asked me to be a part of her first Kathy's Picks on YouTube. And I'm currently coaching the masterclass for the Photo Managers with Darla and Jill, who are also organizing and productivity coaches and professionals. So that was just a really fun way to kick off the year. It was a smaller project, yes, but it was a project. So again, knowing the difference between a project and a task, it's not like you just have to show up. There were some planning involved and all of that. So I knew what to say and what I wanted to get across. And in fact, that video is live. So the replay is there if you want to watch it. I will link to it below. Some great tips on how to get the year off to a great start. I really want to collaborate more with colleagues and all of that, so that was just a perfect way to kick off the year for me. And productivity is such a sort of misunderstood topic, I feel like. A lot of people just think that it's about doing as much as possible in the fastest time possible, kind of in a stressful, like scattered way, like you have to produce and be this sort of machine, and that's not really what it's about. It doesn't have to feel like that at all. It's really about doing the right things in the most aligned way possible with the time you have available, right? So it's more about impact rather than doing things fast, And time is not the only criteria. This is another conversation that I've had a lot with clients. It's like you're constantly pushed to do more. It's really not about that. And especially if you're thinking, I have to do it as fast as possible, that means you're kind of only looking at it from a time perspective, but that's not really what that is about. If time is your only criteria, we've got a problem. So again, that is something that I'm very passionate about and that I'm going to be talking about more, but productivity is somewhat misunderstood, I feel like. So if you have any problems with that, feel free to reach out. I would love to discuss with you how we can make work feel lighter, more fun, and more aligned for you. All right, so let's talk about the number of hours I worked. In January, I worked for a total of 83 hours and 11 minutes, which comes out to about 21 hours per week or so, if you round it up and kind of spread it out over the month. And that was right on target because I've sort of had the goal of doing around 20 to 25 hours per week or so. That's a good sort of part-time feeling for me. And it was a result that I was happy with. It was right on target. I had plenty of time to do what I needed to do. I finished what I needed to do, but again, no stress, no overwork involved there. I was able to spend plenty of time with my family, and it was fun to see that that worked out just fine, even though I was on the road. So it was a very successful month. And what I was absolutely most excited about was the fact that it was a perfect representation of what I like to refer to as the 80-20 rule. Obviously, that's not my concept, but you've probably heard about the 80-20 rule. It's the idea that 80% of the results come from about 20% of the input. And in other words, 80% of your time as a business owner, I feel, should be spent on maintaining your current offers and what makes your business run, right? Your fulfillment and your, your clientele and your services and all of that, right? Admin, marketing, all of those things. And 20% only should be focused on new projects and new things, right? A project is something that we do in order to enhance our current business. It's not, the distractions from shiny new objects that we should worry about. And the 80-20 rule really hit home in January. I could not have planned this out any better, I swear. 80% exactly of my time in January was spent on maintaining my current business and my offers. Perfect spread. And 20% of my time was spent on doing these new projects. So if you can imagine, basically, those 5 projects took 20% of my time. Everything else was things that I do on a recurring basis, like my coaching calls, my marketing, things like that. And that is something that I really want to celebrate because it's taken some time to get here. So, I'm going to pat myself on the back. I'm not one to brag or be like, arrogant about things like that at all. But I really, really want to celebrate the success because it's taken a while to get here. And seeing those results just was so, so fun this month. And that is what it can look like when you have your systems at a point where they just run seamlessly and support you rather than the other way around. A lot of business rookies sort of have it switched around completely, meaning that they spend 80% of their time chasing new shiny bright objects, and then only 20% of their time is spent on their core offers and their core business functions. And what happens is that just doesn't work in the long run because of all the scattered distractions, right? You're not really putting the time in where it needs to be put in. And so what happens is that eventually the business suffers and folds because they're just not getting the money in for it. And there could obviously be a number of reasons for why that happens, but either it's because they're the wrong offers that you have in place, or you're trying to subconsciously pivot, or you're just a distracted person and maybe aren't quite clear on what your core offers are. So if that's something you struggle with, again, I encourage you to reach out because this part should be the easy part, and I don't want anybody to struggle with that. I do have an article on the 80-20 rule in your business operations, so I'll link that as well below. You can have a look at that. And of course, if you ever want to optimize your systems with us, I have a course called Creative Systems Architect, which is all about how to set up business systems and operations and how to pick the right systems for you. So we'd love to help you optimize if that's a thing that's going on for you. And it's just so nice when you put in the work and then you actually get to see and celebrate the results. So I am thrilled with how this month turned out, I have to say. Absolutely thrilled. And it just shows you that what I do works. All right, so let's now talk about digital images organized in January 2024. So in December, I took 986 photos and I deleted 558 of them, which netted me 428 new photos in total. If I did that math right, I hope I did. So again, the majority of those were from a photo shoot that I did. I do at least 1 or 2 a month for my business, just for marketing and for sales pages and all of that stuff, right? So that's a big part of why I always have plenty of photos. But I do also tend to delete a lot of them because I don't need more than a few. I'm not the most photogenic person in the world, so it takes like 100 clicks to get 1-2 good ones, and that's usually what I keep. Maybe a few more, but you get the idea. There's always a lot to choose from. And it's worth noting, I put this down here, that 20% of those keepers are usually different edits of the same photo, right? So sometimes people get confused between a similar photo and a duplicate, especially if they're trying to deduplicate their photo collections. And basically a similar photo is a photo that's very, very similar to the next one, but they're not identical. So a duplicate is basically one that is exactly the same with the same, histogram, with the same color scheme and the same file name and the same resolution and all of those things, right? A similar photo could be a photo that's almost identical, but not quite, because there's one or two variables that differ. For example, if you do a full size photo and then you make a copy of that photo and you change the file name, those are now no longer identical. The file name has changed. If you downgrade it in resolution, if you make a web-size version, for example, that is now a similar photo and not an exact duplicate. That's something that people sometimes get confused on, because they say, oh, well, this is one photo and this is not the exact same. And I'm like, no, that's the sepia version. Like, that's actually a different photo now. So edits usually make something a little bit different, right? Not completely identical. So a deduplication program would actually treat those two photos as different. And that can be kind of tricky. But so I guess what I'm saying is that if you looked at my photo collection, a lot of my keepers might be a color version, a black and white version, a sepia version, and maybe a smaller website version of the same photo. But those are technically all different, right? And it's also a good reminder, I think, of the fact that not all duplicates are bad. So that's something that you can take into consideration depending on what you're working on in your own content archive. You need different edits a lot of the time, right? I certainly do for my business, and I love black and white photography, so I make a lot of black and white edits for my walls, for example. And those are always cool to have. And I always keep the originals, though, in case I want to go back and revert to something else and try something new. Because it's funny how your editing skills also change with time. It's like sometimes you look back and you go, what was I thinking with that edit? And having the original to go back to at that point is just really helpful. So don't get rid of your originals if you can, especially if they're digital. They don't take up a whole lot of space. If you have edits, you probably need to keep the original too. But not all copies are duplicates, so keep that in mind. Most of my month was spent culling, actually, because I just had to get through a lot of them. I didn't spend a whole lot of time organizing because a lot of those photo shoot photos were just, I could put the same metadata in and all of that, and they're usually from the same date too, so pretty quick to organize all of those. But if you create a lot of content, it's worth learning about that stuff too. And I am a certified photo organizer, so again, feel free to reach out if you have questions on that. It's so much fun to be creative with photography, I find, and visuals speak louder than words. We all know that. So if you take care of your assets, they will take care of you. All right, let's talk about steps walked in January 2024. This month went so much better. I walked 156,065 steps, which breaks down to just over 5,000 steps per day, 5,034 to be exact. And it's a little too close for comfort, but at least I made my goal. My goal for all of 2023 was to do 5,000 steps per day. And I had a little trouble during certain months, especially when the weather was bad. And what we saw in, I think it was probably November's report, was that the environment will make or break your goals. Boy, did that come through clearly as well, because I spent this past month in Europe, right? Most of the month. And so I've always said that Europe is kind of easy because public transportation, trains, walking, bikes, that's just kind of how you get around over there. Over here in the US, as well as when we're in India, we just don't walk that much. We just go everywhere in cars because the distances are just so big. So no doubt these results happened because I was in Europe. London, Copenhagen, all those cities that I love and go to, those are all pretty much walking cities. So no wonder I made my goal, and it was pretty easy. Over here, it's tricky. So this month, and you'll hear about this in the next productivity report that comes up next month, but I'm doing a little bit better because I finished my home gym last month. And so I now have a walking treadmill, like a walking pad downstairs, and that's really, really been helpful. But because I've had trouble meeting that goal of 5,000 steps every single day, I'm going to keep that same goal going forward in all of 2024 because I feel like there's more work to be done there, and I need to be a little bit more consistently meeting that number before I up it. There's no point in moving the goalpost if you aren't 100% there. So I want to first iron out some of those wrinkles. I want to optimize the process. I want to make sure that I consistently get some solid numbers in before I change that number. So all of 2024 is going to be, again, 5,000 steps per day, just to sort of maintain. If I do more, great, which I will try to do. But again, that would be the minimum that I'm trying to meet. So yeah, let's see how it goes. I'm excited to try. All right, let's move on to home cooked meals. So all of 2023, I had a goal of doing 75% of home cooked meals at home. Again, just in an effort to spend less money on takeout and do a little bit more in the kitchen, trying not to be so lazy. Cooking has been somewhat of an issue for me in the past for various reasons. That is a long story. But yeah, I haven't had the best relationship with food. So that is something that I've been continuously working on for many, many years. And of course, it's expensive to always eat out. So, it was sort of a dual purpose that I wanted to try and meet that goal. And this month, the official number was 82%. So really, really good. And again, no doubt because I was in Europe. Not that we don't eat out in Europe, we do, but it's just a little bit more expensive, right? And people just don't go out as frequently as you do here in the US, I find. And just from that alone, it's just a bit more rare to do it. The distances are a little bit more difficult. There's less restaurants that I like than there are over here. So yeah, it just makes sense that the numbers would confirm that for me. I think in Sweden we only ate out a couple of times, twice, 3 times, 4 times, maybe something like that. Not too much at all. In London, obviously, I stayed at a hotel. I didn't have a choice because I didn't have a kitchen there. So I had to eat out. I didn't have a choice. But I was only there for like a day and a half, so it wasn't a big deal. It was only a couple meals. I did take a friend to Dishum, which is my favorite Indian restaurant in London. It is so good. It is so worth it. I mean, I would take a trip over there just to go to that restaurant. So if you're ever in London, please look up Dishum. Shout out to Dishum. You guys are doing a great job. I have to go there anytime I'm in London. And then I also tried some Malaysian food, which was really cool. I didn't realize how much influenced they were by South Indian cuisine. Obviously, my husband is from southern India, so that was kind of interesting to see. I hadn't realized how much Malaysian food was similar. So that was really cool to try out. And yeah, recommend it to anyone. But yeah, I was super excited about 82%. We'll see how I do going forward, but I think I'm going to stick with the same number for 2024. I just feel like, again, I need to be able to consistently meet that goal without problems before I move the goalpost. So that's what we're going with. All right, let's talk about books and learning that I did in 2024. Given the topic of this report, I love to learn, obviously. It's pretty obvious. Personal development is really what I look forward to every day. I tend to spend at least an hour learning something new or improving an existing skill that I have. And it really is, I think, the secret to success. continuous growth is just worth so much. It prevents you from getting stuck because you're constantly looking at things from different perspectives. So it's just been such a big part. And reading, of course, is a huge part of that for me. So my goal for last year was to finish one book per month, whether that was in print, audiobook, or whatever, and then write out what I learned from it. So I'm going to continue again that goal for 2024. I find that that is working for me. Again, it's not about reading as much as possible and just getting through it. No, I want to really go deep, pick one book, and really squeeze out every nugget that I can from that book. It's like, clearly the author wrote this because they had lessons to share. What are those lessons, and what can I gain from understanding them? Really, like, I want to go very deep and really get to all the good parts, and not just read it for reading's sake. You know, that's not the point. I want to learn. Yeah. So this month, I actually reread The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. It's a book that's been around for a long time. And this is actually my third or fourth pass through it, because every time I pick it up, I feel like I learned something new. And the gist of it really is simple. It's that you unlock creativity by understanding what fuels it and what drains it, and how to move through any stagnant periods that you might end up in. So I think it's an important read for really anyone who's ever experienced creative blocks. For anybody who is an artist or work with artists, I think it's an important read. It's really a good, solid book. I've had this conversation a lot lately with people, the whole idea of stagnation and like getting stuck. And it's such a frustrating place to be when you know that there's creativity inside you that needs to come out, but it doesn't come out for whatever reason. I just feel like that it is such a frustrating stage to be in, that this book is a really good resource for anybody who feels like that. Basically what she says is that you have to go back to basics. You have to find yourself again. You have to feel inspired again, and remember who you are. And something that I've also noticed is that movement doesn't always equal momentum. Obviously, it's a main ingredient, but it doesn't always equate equally. But if you focus on that, things tend to shake loose over time. So I just thought that by reminding myself of all the principles in this book, I'm able to more easily connect with what it feels like to be in that stage, and that lets me sort of empower and encourage my clients even better. So even if I don't necessarily needed it myself this month, I felt like it was a good reminder for me. So again, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. I believe there are a few editions of it, but no matter which one you pick up, it's a solid choice. You'll enjoy it, I'm sure. All right, let's move on to one of my favorite parts, which is meaningful conversations. So every month I try to talk to at least a few new people or reconnect with people I haven't spoken to in a while. And this year actually brought some new connections, which I really loved. So first up, I want to give a shout out to Julie, who is the owner of Photo Organizing Solutions. She took my DPO Pro course a while back, and we never really got a chance to connect much. So she had a Zoom date with me. I do these Zoom dates with my mailing list called Fika with Caroline. And we kind of just make a cup of tea and chat for 20 minutes. And it was just nice to remember that we're both in the same industry, and, you know, she's lovely. So shout out to Julie. It's sometimes really nice to connect with people without having a specific agenda, just to sort of say, hey, what have you been up to lately? I feel like that's underrated. Sometimes, especially nowadays, we're so focused on meetings, and getting things done all the time that sometimes it's nice to just catch up with a friend. Like, not every meeting has to have an agenda. I know some of my colleagues are probably going to kill me for saying that, but it's one of my strategies. It's like, it's okay, whether it's with your team, whether it's with friends, family, colleagues, or whatever. it's okay to just meet up sometimes. It's okay. We don't always have to get things done. I also chatted with Susan. Hi, Susan, if you're watching, shout out. She's another one of my DPO Pro students, a lovely woman, but she has had conflicts with our coaching calls, and so she hasn't been able to attend much. And it's just nice, to get to meet her and put a name to the face and, catch up. She's been watching replays, I guess. So replay queens need their time too. And it was nice to spend a few minutes with her on Zoom. And then finally, I also spoke with Regina. So shout out Regina. She had some questions. She's working on her own organizing projects. And so, we got to connect and that was fun as well. Just because, somebody joins my courses or programs or whatever, doesn't mean I always get to connect with them as much as I want to, right? Because not everybody can make coaching calls. Not everybody gets interactive, even though many of my courses are interactive. Some people just do self-study versions or work in solitude on their own thing and have great success, and then I never hear from them. And that's totally cool too. It's just really fun to actually hear that people are having success and are able to enjoy and do the work. So yeah, it's super fun to catch up. Of course, these weren't the only people I caught up with. I got to say hi to my friend Bami in London. Shout out to you, Bami, if you're watching. It was so fun to see you. And it's not the last time for sure. And again, shout out to Maud and Jamie for a wonderful workshop. So much fun. What a great month for connections, really. All right, moving on to success celebrated. This is the section where I really want to pause and celebrate the results, the fruit of the labor, all the hard work that has been done and success that I've had. It's so easy to sort of gloss over it and forget about all the accomplishments, but that is something I encourage my clients to do. So it's something that I do for myself as well. So as you've already heard me mention, January was a breakthrough month for me in terms of personal development. I've sort of checked off a few goals now that I've had for years in terms of becoming who I want to become. And it's just nice to look back and celebrate that. One of the most effective practices I have ever implemented is called EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, or tapping. I'm sure you are familiar with it. If not, let me know, because it is really life-changing. And what you do is basically you use your fingers and you tap on certain acupuncture points on your body, and you are able to then turn off the stress response in your body and overcome some things. It's an absolutely brilliant way of reprogramming yourself, and I couldn't have learned how to do it without the amazing Sherry Lukey, who is my collaborator. And we've worked together now for some time, and it's been absolutely transformative. So thank you, Sherry, for all of your hard work and your dedication and just who you are. It's been absolutely incredible to work with you and to get to collaborate with you on retreats and projects. And what I'm so excited about this month is that Sherry and I have decided that she is now going to be a part of not one, but two of my offers. First of all, she is going to be a guest coach in Mindful Monday Mapping, which is my sort of CEO routine program. It lasts for a full year. And what it does, it teaches entrepreneurs and CEOs a routine that lets them create a shorter work week so that they can have a more balanced life and schedule and get things done just a lot easier, right? So she is going to be a guest coach in that program. And we have mapped out themes for all of our coaching calls. So we are going to talk about, ADHD support. We're going to talk about fear of success. We're going to talk about fear of failure, team work and delegation. I mean, all types of stuff. And she's actually going to lead all of my students in tapping exercises. And I cannot wait for my students to experience the power of that. It's going to be absolutely transformational. MMM, Mindful Monday Mapping, my program, it is such a game changer anyway, that I feel like just the program itself obviously will change your life. But with the addition of EFT as well on top of that, it's going to be such a game changer. I mean, it's by far the best thing I think I've ever created, the best program I've ever hosted, and I'm just so thrilled for my clients to start to feel those shifts. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And not only that, but she's also coming in as a guest coach in our quarterly planning workshops. So if you heard me say earlier that we do those once a quarter, the next one is coming up in March of 2024. The link will be underneath this video. She's going to do an intro and an outro to sort of prepare all of our participants for anything that comes up when they're doing their quarterly planning. And it's going to be absolutely killer. I cannot wait. It is such a game changer. I cannot overstate this enough. And you can see how giddy I am just telling you this. But it really is, I think, what's going to make the difference for a lot of my students, because as much as I love what I do, and as much as I know that what I do is transformative, this is the missing piece, because I can only give you so many strategies, but if you have a limiting belief that you can't overcome, there's not much we can do about that until that's fixed, right? So this is the missing piece that I really want my clients to have and my students, and I'm just thrilled. I'm so excited. So yeah, that is a major value bomb for anybody who is enrolling in any of my programs. Working with her is a privilege, and that is a lot of good stuff coming their way. So imposter syndrome, stress, delegation, ADHD, fear of failure, fear of success. I mean, so much more. We're going to tackle that and more. And can you imagine the change that is going to go and happen to all of my students this next year? I cannot wait to see what they're going to accomplish. It's going to be amazing. Obviously, this is not meant to be a sales pitch, but I'm just so giddy with this information. I'm so grateful to Sherry that she's going to be able to do this for my students. And I just can't wait. If you're interested in Mindful Monday Mapping, or MMM as we call it for short, yes, if you're an Izzle fan, that is a happy accident, but I couldn't have planned it any better. I'll leave the link below. It's basically a program to teach you how to create a shorter work week by implementing a CEO routine. That is proven. I've taught it to many clients, and it works. So if you want to work less, have more fun, all of that, have a more buttoned up business, join us in MMM, and you get a year's worth of EFT tapping as well, along with that. And then for quarterly planning, the first session's free, so feel free to jump in and join us in March when that next one is coming up. I'll leave the link for that below as well. It is so much fun, and we can't wait to see you there. Yeah, exciting stuff coming for this year, for sure. All right, for the final piece, tea of the month. I am a huge fan of tea, and of course, Harney and Sons, shout out to you. You have the best stuff. I mean, really. I used to love Tiavana, but Tiavana got bought up, and let's leave that there, because that could bring up some traumatic memories for me. But H&S, they have such great teas. So if you're looking for quality teas, go to Harney and Sons and check those out. This month I've been enjoying their Winter White Earl Grey, which is just a lighter, softer version. So if you've ever had traditional Earl Grey, you know that it's black tea with bergamot, basically, and sometimes a few other things in there. But it's usually very strong, and their Winter White is just a much lighter, softer version, little less caffeine, and still the same great flavor. So that one has been such a favorite of mine for a bit now, and you know, with this being the winter season and all, I just feel like it's the perfect time to highlight it. So that's a really good one if you want to try. Obviously, there's a ton more that you can look at on their website. So you really can't go wrong. They do have the best stuff. Thank you so much for watching. What I want to say, sort of to wrap up this video, is that you do not have to measure the things that I measure. So obviously what I have done is I have tailored my my goals and all of the milestones and all of that to what I need to work on. And what I need to work on is not the same things that you need to work on. So when it comes to steps walked, you know, home cooked meals, projects completed, all of that stuff, those are things that I measure in my life and my business, because that is where I want to make sure that I'm meeting certain targets. And you can measure the same things, you can measure other things. You need to understand what moves the needle for you and your business. And if you, again, aren't sure about that, let me know. We have ways where you can figure that out. For example, with our quarterly planning, or just by maybe jumping on a discovery call with me, we can figure out what some of those things are, because you really need to measure what matters, right? We don't need to measure everything. We need to figure out what stats do we actually need to look at in order for us to see how we're doing. And they need to be customized. There's just no way around that. We all have different things that we need to work on. And sometimes we don't all need the same things at the same time. So again, don't worry about necessarily the things I'm doing, worry about what you need to work on. And the reason I'm sharing mine with you is so that you can understand how I track things, so that you can see why I track certain things and how I do the things that I do, and what makes me tweak things, and just sort of the process for figuring out how to meet your goals and how to complete projects. I really feel like those two things are key in order to run a successful business. So I really want to be transparent in showing how I do that and why the things that I do work. So I hope that you enjoy that and that you have fun following my journey. You know, it's going to be a little bit bumpy every now and then, and that's okay. I'm glad you're here, and I thank you for your time and attention. Let me know what you think of this video by dropping a comment below, like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And yeah, if you need help, reach out. Organization can be super fun. Productivity can be easy and enjoyable, and I would love for you to experience that. So have a great, great month, and I will see you next time. Bye.